What is going on YouTube? Zyonik here, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the Tempest Cup meta and what has started to form as the must-have Pokemon for this tournament. And after we take a look at all of that, we're going to jump right into some battles showcasing these Pokemon and how strong they are. Alright guys, moving right into the Tempest Cup meta. And what I want you guys to notice here is take a look at the spread of Pokemon that we have for this tournament. Now this isn't all of them, obviously I couldn't fit them all on the screen, but this just gives you an idea of how many different types we have coming into this tournament. And at the top we have a Tropius being ridden by a Abomasnow going pew pew, because Tropius and Abomasnow with Razor Leaf is going to do very well in this tournament. We also have the Fire Flying and Fire Ground Pokemon. We have the Ice Water, Ice Ground Pokemon. We have the Groundwater meta from the Boulder Cup with Marshtomp and Whiscash. We have the Ground Rock, Ground Steel, Ground Electric with the Rhyperior, Steelix, Alolan Graveler. And then we have our Electric type Pokemon, which I don't think are going to do as great. They'll still do okay, especially the Lantern. Lantern might do very well in this tournament. And then we have our Flying Pokemon with Skarmory, Altaria, and Lugia. Now moving on to the type of Pokemon that are going to be available in this tournament, I have this infographic available to you guys, so if you want to pause the video and take a screenshot, or you can also find this picture on my Twitter, which you can find down in the description. If we look at the first row, we take a look at Ice-type Pokemon. To the left, we're going to see what Ice-type Pokemon are weak to, which is going to be Fire, Rock, Fighting, and Steel. And to the right, we're going to see that Ice is going to be strong against Dragon, Grass, Ground, and Flying. So this is just a good chart to have to try to memorize, so that when you come up into situations in battle, you know it by instinct whether that Pokemon is going to do super effective damage to you or not. Now that we've kind of seen the meta that is available to us, it's time to dive into what are going to be the best Pokemon for this tournament. And starting at number 1 is going to be Tropius. And Tropius, I know you guys are saying, trust me, I didn't think about it at first because of the fact that he's 4 times weak to ice, but because of the buff in the end of January, where Tropius's Razor Leaf got a 37% damage increase, where it does 5.5 damage per turn, which is the highest and hardest hitting move in the game. And if you want to compare that to a counter, which is the second best move in the game, counter only does 4 damage per turn. So it's a considerable amount of damage, and the fact that he's going to completely annihilate the water ground meta with Marshtomp, Whiscash, Swampert, he's going to destroy them. They're double weak to grass. It's going to be 3 or 4 tap, they're out of there. It's going to be the equivalent of Venomoth versus Toxicroak. And if you look down at the ice Pokemon with Ice Ground, Ice Water, he's going to go toe-to-toe with them. And the only way he really wins is if he uses a shield on one of their charge moves. He doesn't actually have to use a charge move on these guys to win. He can win on fast moves alone, because Tropius in this tournament isn't going to be utilized for charge moves. He's going to be utilized for just the raw Razor Leaf damage. And taking a look at the bottom row, Tropius is going to be able to do super effective damage to Rhyperior and Alolan Graveler, whilst doing neutral damage to Steelix, but handling Steelix very well, where he's just going to take down Steelix with Razor Leafs alone. So Tropius is definitely going to be the Pokemon to beat when it comes to this tournament, but don't worry, there is some amazing counters for Tropius. And the first and foremost counter for this tournament is going to be a Skarmory. And Skarmory is going to absolutely wall a Tropius with double resistance to grass and having access to flying moves. He's going to be able to do super effective damage to Tropius, and literally just, it's not even going to be a contest when it comes to Skarmory versus Tropius. And on top of that, Skarmory is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with the water ground meta. He's going to be able to beat the ice Pokemon for the fact that they're going to be weak to steel, and he can have Steel Wing and Flash Cannon while also having Sky Attack for Tropius. And then he's going to go toe-to-toe with the with Rhyperior, Alolan Graveler, and Steelix. Now, that's all of this is going to be based on, the toe-to-toe is going to be based on shielding, who decides to shield, who doesn't. on the win trades, but the ones that are going to be a dominant win on fast attacks alone is going to be Tropius. Skarmory is just going to beat Tropius, so if you don't have a Tropius for this tournament, and even if you do have a Tropius, you're going to want a Skarmory. It's just such a hard counter. And at the top there, you guys see Charizard. And Charizard's going to be very unique and very clutch. It could go one of two ways in this tournament, and it's going to be a flip of the coin, but he's going to do super effective damage to Skarmory and Tropius. He's going to be able to beat them, but he's also going to be really weak to a lot of Pokemon, where if a Rhyperior swaps into a Charizard, it's going to be the equivalent of Venomoth swapping into Toxicroak. Like, you're going to be gone unless you get out of there instantly, and you'll see that later in the video. So we're going to go ahead and move into the first game of the night. So moving right into the first match, I lead with a Charizard and she leads with Skarmory. So automatically right here, I know I'm going to win the trade, so I'm just going to keep storing energy because I have a feeling she's going to have to bail out, and she does. She brings in Rhyperior and I need to get out of there. Look at my health. Charizard's gone. But then look at this. I swap into Tropius. Rhyperior's gone. This is the rock, paper, scissors meta I was talking about, guys. It's so drastic. So we're going to go ahead and get this Leaf Blade off to the Skarmory, and since I can't swap out, I'm just gonna go ahead and shield this and try to do a little bit more damage to Skarmory, because I want my Charizard to be able to take it out. So we let Tropius go down. We're gonna bring in Charizard. Go ahead and go for that Blast Burn just in case she doesn't shield it. She does shield it, so we burn her last shield, get a few quick attacks off, and Skarmory's in the red. So I'm gonna go ahead and block this Flash Cannon she has coming in. Finish off the Skarmory with fast attacks, and I have a feeling her last Pokemon is going to be Tropius, because I know she has it on her roster, and it is Tropius. So right here, 0 shields on both sides, but Skarmory is such a wall to Tropius that there's nothing Tropius can do. This is just a good game. So that's the first game. And on the left and right hand sides of the screen, I have Tropius and Skarmory with their weaknesses and resistances, so you guys can kind of soak in what they're going to be weak against and what they're going to be strong against for this tournament, because these are going to be the number 1 and 2 Pokemon that you are going to see. So moving right into the next game, I'm going to lead with Skarmory and she leads with Tropius. So I'm happy with this lead, and I know she's going to have to get out of there, otherwise her Tropius is it's going to go down and it's not going to be utilized. She brings in Altaria, and Altaria is a great Pokemon for this tournament because the fear that Skarmory and Tropius brings to the ice meta, Altaria then starts to have free reign on Tropius and Skarmory. We're going to go ahead and swap out into Charizard. Now look at how much damage that Dragon Breath is doing. We're going to go ahead and shield the Sky Attack, try to get a Dragon Claw off here to do a good chunk of damage or burn that shield. So we do a good chunk of damage, but just look at this Dragon Breath. That's just incredible amount of damage. We'll go ahead and get this last Dragon Claw off to finish off Altaria. So we're sitting pretty good. She brings in Steelix. We're going to try to get this Dragon Claw off. We don't get it. So we're going to go ahead and bring in Tropius. And this was a matchup I was talking about earlier of Tropius versus Steelix. There's really not a lot Steelix can do, guys. Even though it's neutral damage, Razor Leaf is going to hit Steelix so hard that it's going to lose on trades. And her final Pokemon is going to be a Tropius. So we're not going to shield this, but it is something you guys need to note that Tropius does have access to Aerial Ace. And Aerial Ace, being a flying move, is going to do super effective damage. So in the mirror match, your opponents could have Aerial Ace, and you're going to want to have it as well so that you can take down a Tropius in the mirror match. And Skarmory goes ahead and handles Tropius with ease, and I still have a shield left. So moving on to the next game. We're going to go ahead and lead with a Skarmory, and she leads with the Tropius again. So she's going to want to try to build up some energy, and I know she's going to swap out. So she does build up some energy, swaps out into Altaria. We're going to swap into a Piloswine. And Piloswine's going to do really well in this tournament for the fact that it's going to be able to get off avalanches very quickly and do super effective damage to a lot of the strong Pokemon you're going to see in this tournament. So it's going to burn a lot of shields. We're going to go ahead and block that. Now we have 2 avalanches stored right here versus a Skarmory. This first avalanche, she's going to shield. And then we have an instant second avalanche. We're going to go ahead and get off, and it's either going to burn the second shield or do quite a bit of damage. And it does about half the health of Skarmory. So that's a great job from Piloswine. It did exactly what I wanted to do. Sadly, I couldn't get that last avalanche off. But we're going to go ahead and bring in my Skarmory for the fact that it's not going to take super effective damage. She does a flash cannon. We're okay. We're going to tap a few times. Go ahead and get this sky attack off. And she does shield it. But we do have a second sky attack because we've had a lot of stored energy. So there goes Skarmory, and her last Pokemon being Tropius. Skarmory, going to be a huge direct counter to Tropius. Doesn't care about that Leaf Blade. It's just going to get this final sky attack off and take care of Tropius. So moving on to the next game. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with Tropius, and she leads with Piloswine. Now pay attention to the fact that Tropius is 4 times weak to Ice, but it's doing so much damage to this Piloswine. And as long as you shield the charge attack of Avalanche or Ice Beam from a lot of the Ice Pokemon, your Tropius is going to be able to put in a lot of damage and take out that Pokemon. So she brings in Altaria, and this Leaf Blade isn't going to do anything to it. And Altaria, being just an absolute monster in Pokemon Go PvP, it's going to do a lot of work to Tropius. So we go ahead and bring in our Lapras, which I like using against an Altaria for the fact that it's going to be very tanky and do a lot of damage with Ice Shard, Ice Beam. She brings in her Tropius, and I use an Ice Beam, but she's going to go ahead and block it. Now, when it comes to Lapras versus Tropius, it's going to be very even, and it's only going to be even if you have Frost Breath or Ice Shard, because if you go with Water Gun, it's going to lose heavily. But Water Gun does have its benefits in the fact that it's going to take care of a lot of other Pokemon very well. So we're going to go ahead and bring in Skarmory versus this Tropius. Now we have a stored Sky Attack. She has no shields. It's Altaria. We're going to go ahead and finish off Altaria with this Quick Attack. And that is the game. Now moving on to the final game of the night, guys. I'm going to go ahead and lead with a Tropius, have Lapras and Altaria as my backups. So starting things off, leading with a Tropius, and she leads with a Ninetales, which is another Pokemon that we've seen from the Twilight Cup. So you may see people reuse it because as a 3rd cup in a row, People's Stardust is gone. I know mine's heavily gone from the past 2 tournaments, but I do have a good pool of Pokemon to choose from. What I want you guys to notice is the fact that Tropius is 4 times weak to Ice, and Ninetales is neutral to Grass. So it just goes to show how tanky Tropius is, and how hard-hitting Razor Leaf is going to be in this tournament. One Razor Leaf to do a decent amount of damage, we're going to go ahead and bring in Lapras. And Lapras with Water Gun is going to be able to do a lot of damage to Rhyperior, but mine has Ice Shard, so it's not doing as much. And we're going to go ahead and get off this Ice Beam, finish off Rhyperior, and she brings in her Tropius. Now the final Pokemon that I do have is Skarmory, and Skarmory is just going to go to town on her Tropius. I still have a shield. I don't actually need to shield these Leaf Blades because it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and get this final Sky Attack off, and that is going to be the game. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope you're able to get some of these Pokemon that are going to be really strong in this tournament before your own tournament comes up. So be sure to leave a comment down below and tell me, I don't know what to tell me.
Tell me what I need to say next.
Tell me what I need to say next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.